user screen. And the first we have to generate codebook, and then the second we can search the codebook by using our algorithm. So how to define a codebook? So this is our proposed codebook. And why we call it hierarchical? Because hierarchical is mean that there is a parent and there are children. So for example, here it's like there is a line 2 here. This is the parent code word, and this parent code word has 3 children. And then if this is for picture, but how about the table? There is like a code word W1 and W1 has like children from W1 to the W to F1. W here is code word. And this is for any numbers, but this is only for example, the number of antenna, for example, only 45. And this is our purpose, because we use the composite number of antenna. It's not only 2, 4, 8, 60, 32, or 64. So we can use any number. And how to know how many code words in each layer? So we need to factorize the number of antenna. For example, here 45. So we need to factorize it on 3, 3, and 5. If we multiply it together, we will get 45. And then we do the ascending order, and then we define always f0 equal to 1. And how to get that? The first layer here has 5 code words, so we can use this formula. For example, here is 45 divided by some product of f0 to f2, because as here is number of layer, there are 3 factors, so this means that there are 3 layers, so 3 minus 1 is equal to 2, because we find the first layer and f0 to f2. So it means that 44 divided by 9, and we will get 5 here. So the same with other layer. So in the kind output we have like first layer, second layer, and more layer. Next. So how to define the code word value? And the code word value is like for the last layer is same with any steering factor. It's like just common steering factor for the last layer, and we combine the steering factor with the sharper, and combine it together with wider and shorter, and with this formula. So this is formula for combining the code words. And now we're going to the algorithm. So the first we generate the code book, I have told before, and then the second one we define that phone channel is equal to 0, and then this is initial phone channel, and then we also define the initial layer. So in the initial layer we can define by ourselves. For example, we can start from the first layer. It means that the complexity will be lower. We have a lower complexity, but the accuracy will be also lower. Yeah. And if we start with in the high layer, we will have bad time complexity, but we will get a good accuracy. And then for the iteration, we need to find the angle of arrival and angle of departure and the gain in each path. And here we have first path till number of string. So in this loop, we will have 3 main algorithms. The first is initial search, and then refinement, and then the square basic refinement. So this is the high resolution refinement. And then don't forget to we need to subtract with the phone channel in the previous part, and then to get the phone channel in the next loop. And before we go into the algorithm, I need to introduce how does it work. So for example, in the initial search, we need to here is transmitter, here is receiver. So for example, we start the initialer from first layer and the transceiver also first layer. So for example, it's same 45 and then it also have 45. So it means we can start from the first layer. It has 5 chord words in the first layer, and then 5 chord words in the receiver, and then we find the best couple, the best, it's like the best partner, the best chord word in the transmitter, and then the best chord word in the receiver, who has the highest magnitude of gain. And then, for example, in the transmitter we have the blue light blue here for the best one, and then we cannot stop here. We need to refine, because if the wider chord word, we don't know the position of the user. So we need to refine and refine. So, and then this is wider, and we will have sharper one. So after this, in the refinement, so we need to choose from the three of the children who is the best one. And then also we also find in the receiver. So okay, now we are going to the mathematical one. Okay, so because here is like there are 3 parts, so I will start from the initial search. Okay, so now this is the initial search. I have told you it's like the intuition for the searching. Now this is mathematical initial search. This is n is the index of the chord words, and then here is the number of chord words in transmitter and in the initial layer. And then the transmitter send the chord words, and then the receiver will receive with this y, and of course in the when the receiver receive the signal, we will have noise, and then we have like channel times this type of the chord words, and then we have to subtract with the phone channel, and the phone channel is the previous path from this equation. Is a summation of the previous path, and then after this we need to calculate what is the highest magnitude gain in the receiver, and then we will get the best chord from in the initial layer, and then we need to refine it in the refinement stack, and then here we need to start from the first layer, the next layer after the initial layer. So here is initial layer plus 1. Then the same idea, we need to send the transmit chord word first, then the receiver will calculate with the maximum one. It's same. It's similar, so it's not same, but yeah, we do it until in the last layer. And in the last layer, for example, in the introduction, I told you about this algorithm, which also works for if the case that the antenna number is different, right? So for example, here is like the receiver has higher number of antenna than transmitter. So for example, if like this, maybe has like the number of layers is also higher in the receiver. For example, in the receiver we have 6, like this in the previous example, and the transmitter has 4 number of antenna. Sorry, 4 number of layers, and then we can imagine we start from the initial layer from, for example, from the first layer, and then we refine in the second layer, third layer, and then fourth layer. But when we still have 2 layers because we have 4 and 6, right? So 4, and in 4 we have to think how to refine in the next 2 layers here. So for the higher layer, we still continue, but in the lower layer, it has the number has the lower layer, we can stop in the 4th layer. So it means that when we do the refinement in the 5th layer, we can stop from the other side. We can stop in the 4th layer, in the last layer. So it means that 4th layer with 5th layer, and the 4th layer with 6 layers, something like this. So the same idea with this. And then next, actually, after the refinement step in the last step of the refinement, we can plot our if all combination of the combination of the children, and then we can the children of global, and then we can know that the sum of the protein is part of our weight. And I think because we have a future research about 3D hierarchical research, so it has more complexity is more, and then we need to think what is how to reduce the complexity. So we will use the approximation by least square. But for the least square here is like the common least square. So it's just we need to like find the coins in the curve and then randomly choose, and then we can get the approximation. And we have to make sure that we have six constants that we have to find. So it means that number of sampling is more than 6. Okay. Then this is how to find the optimal one, and this is the algorithm that I told before. And now after getting the result of the algorithm, so we can put the result to it's like the factor, the Pembimbing factor, and make like this, and we will get the recording and combining, and for recording and combining here we can substitute the asymptotic rate, and we will get the asymptotic rate in the result after this. And performance evaluation here, we know that number of antenna in receiver and the transmitter we set to 64 pi. And later that's I told that it can different, and then we can end competition number, but it still have this because we have to compare with the previous pattern. Then here is the success rate, the resolution, and then this is the time complexity of our proposed. And in the result, we know that the unsuccess rate is close to the, because we use approximation, right? So approximation, of course, we will get the worst result, but it's not really. It's just a little bit worse. So I mean, it's like you can see that it's still tolerant. We can still. It's very close here, and then but we need to know that our algorithm complexity is lower than the previous one. And then for the spectral efficiency, it's close to the perfect CSI, but we have to use the optimal power allocation with water filling. And we can see if we use the water filling algorithm, we can increase 1 bits per second per hertz. Okay, next. Conclusion. In this paper, we propose a hierarchical multi-beam source scheme where the codebook is more flexible for the antenna numbers in ULA. Instead of conventional oversampling, we propose a square-based refinement that demands lower training cost. And the last, it shows that through the simulation results, that the proposed method has comparable success rate with the conventional methods. Thank you.
I have a general comment. First of all, when you present it in some important, event, you need to have some tone. Your tone should be, when you say something important, you should say it with higher tone.
Oh, okay.
If you present the slides always a flat tone, actually no one knows where is important, where is not that important, and where they should pay more attention. If that is the case, then let me feel some kind of glory in the middle. And secondly, if you have many algorithms, you can think about it. If you are the audience sitting here and you are listening to a presentation, would you like to know some methodology with some animation and with some explanation, or you want to read equations one by one? How would you like?
Animation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, you made some animation during the project competition, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Make use of it.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And when you mention, because actually when you explain the algorithm, you always posture to explain it, but actually the audience need to imagine it by themselves. So why not put those imagination on the screen? Okay, and or when you are or for example, when you are talking about the algorithm, maybe actually you just need to mention some important step, and when you are and you can highlight, for example, the first important thing you want to highlight is some equation. Maybe you can just you can use animation to highlight the first one when you are talking about this one, and when you are talking another step, then the highlight will shift to another part. Not you use a plain algorithm. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. You need to have some. Actually, I think when you are attending a work, listening a word, it is very hard to understand all the equation and all the derivation within 15 minutes. Actually, no one will expect they will understand all the detail. But most of people want to grasp some idea. There are no how you want to propose this method. So your motivation and some concept. If you have some animation or some graphical example, it will be easier to help them understand your concept. Yeah, because when they are watching those equations, actually, and after a few minutes, you will find that some people may watch their cell phone instead. Okay? Okay, so can you go to your first page? About your motivation. And then when you are talking, when you are presenting, maybe you can be more confident.
Okay.
Yeah. Now your paper is accepted. So that means that you think you are qualified to present your work in this conference. So you should be more confident because actually we are presenting our work. The one goal is that we want to make other people understand our concept, and maybe we can have some interaction. So maybe some scholar will give you some feedback or some suggestion. That could be another research topic. So you can be more confident when you are presenting. Okay, and for the opening side, I think the most important thing is why you want to, the motivation you want to work on this one. Why you want to use hierarchical research. Now, actually, we are not going, not only for search engine, actually some other people have done that. But maybe you can begin from in CG because we are pursuing higher and higher spatial efficiency. So currently, basic MIMO technology or basic MIMO system are widely employed in mobile communication system. So this is the first thing. The second thing is if we want to we want to design a decoder. Actually, we may need channel information, but in basic MIMO system, it is costly to estimate all the channel coefficient. So instead, we do not estimate each of the channel coefficient because we assume that in a mmWave channel the angle variable, the number of passes is limited. So we try to estimate the angle variable and the angle of departure of those propagation paths instead of estimating all the channels. This could be your motivation.
Okay.
Yeah. So with this regard, then the next page that we generate we propose a code book, hierarchical code book to search or for quantity search. Yes, but why do we want to propose a new one? You can say in some literature actually the hierarchical code book has been developed, but those are developed for a specific number of antenna. So our contribution is that the code book can be applied to. So So the next page will go to your contribution. So what's the difference between your work and the existing work? Okay. So the first one, your contribution will be your code book. The algorithm to generate a code word can be applied to the number of antenna. To the case that the number of antenna is a composite number. So it can be any composite number instead of 2 to the power. And the second contribution is that in literature, it may require a lot of oversampling to increase the accuracy. But we propose interpolation algorithm to enhance the accuracy without increasing the oversampling number. I think this is two major contributions of your work. So maybe you can list the 2 contributions. Then you go to your system model. Okay, so actually for the system model, for the micro channel model, it is very typical. So you can go through it later. Okay?
Good.
Yes, we just need to mention that we assume that this is a massive MIMO channel. Anyway propagation, we assume that the number of paths is equal to L, and L should not to be too much.
Oh.
Okay? It is important, right? Okay, and can you go down? So first of all, I think maybe you can revise your introduction.
Okay.
A little bit to emphasize more your motivation and the contribution. Contribution is very important. Yeah. And in this page, in this picture you can use animation, right? So for the first layer you have so you can show the beam for the first layer only, and then the second layer, the third layer, right? Instead of just using your hand, right? You use animation is easier.
Yes, that's true.
Okay. And actually, you don't need to emphasize more detail. You say those animation. You can say that we construct some relay. So for example, 45 to 3 times 3 times 5. So we can generate a hierarchical code book with 3 layers. So for the first layer, we have how many power, and then the second layer. So you can use the example to explain the code book generation. Okay, and after you are mentioning this, you can say and the code word of corresponding to some layer can be expressed in the equation in page 11. Right? Yeah, page 11 is for your hierarchical code. Yeah. So actually in this in your previous page, maybe you can emphasize a little bit about the function of G. G is three vector function, right? So in this page, you can say, we define the code word from the last layer, the last layer up to the first layer.
So we can give the picture of the G, the last layer.
Yeah. Maybe you can use features like the last layer includes so many things, and when you go up to the previous layer, you need to combine some. Then the equation will go to the equation 5. But if you explain it accompanying with some animation, it will be easier for them to imagine what would it look like in your equation. Okay? And then go to the next page. Actually, this is the algorithm for overalls.
Yes.
Story. I would suggest you to put this algorithm to end. After you explain the interpolation.
Yes.
Right? Because you have this parameter refinement, you do the initial search, hierarchical Or actually, maybe you don't need to say too much here. Maybe you can use block diagram instead of this one. You can say after we have based on the generated code book, the research algorithm is accomplished in 3 steps. The first step is initial search, and the second step is hierarchical refinement. The third step is least square. Then you will explain it one by one in the following. Then just finish it.
Oh, we done like this.
So you don't need to explain it line by line.
Okay.
I think this algorithm just